Hi guys, Master Schiele here. Today we're going to be talking about possible warning signs that your children are being bullied. Why am I doing this video? Well, the reason I'm doing this video is because if your children are like most, when you ask them how their day of school was, they tell us the typical answer, it was good, it was fine, and that's really all they do. Children don't like to go into details of what's happening, especially if there's something that they're not too proud of or are a little bit embarrassed of actually happening in their lives. They're not just going to go out and tell us. So we have to really stay ahead of the curve and be a little have a list of things that we really want to look for to see if bullying is actually happening. Please, guys, if you haven't yet, do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that great stuff. It keeps me sending this information out to you. And if you do see anything in this list that is happening in your children's lives, do check out my other video on what to do if your children are being bullied. First thing, guys, that we want to look for if our children are being bullied is, do they come home with anything damaged, missing, any clothing, books, pencils, pens, anything like that. If we ever see damaged, missing, or anything that kind of seems out of the ordinary, maybe rips out of a book, maybe they come home and their jacket's missing, their sneakers are missing, the shoelaces look like something happened to them, that could be a possible warning sign that our children are being bullied. So do always watch that and inspect that constantly. Next thing is, if your children ever come home with any bumps, bruises, scratches, scrapes, anything that's really out of the ordinary right there. Whenever I see a kid, I always get in the habit of asking what happened. So for example, if I see a kid come into school and I see they have a black eye, which happens, and a lot of times it's just a legitimate thing that happened. And I'll go, hey, John, what happened? Where'd that black eye come from? And he might go, oh, I got hit in the head with a football. Oh, okay, who threw that football at you? Be very specific what you ask. And he might go, oh, my friend Jeff threw the football at me and I missed it. Okay, and where did that happen? Was it at home? Was it at school? Where did that happen? So ask these questions to really get a bigger picture of what's happening right there. And you can really kind of do a little investigating. If they can't answer that straight, that might be, again, a warning sign that bullying's happening. So always be very specific with your answers, and do kind of ask some follow-up questions with that as well. Moving forward, guys, do your children all of a sudden start bullying younger siblings? That could be a really big warning sign that your children are being bullied. What happens is they get bullied themselves, they're not sure what to do, so they actually imitate and do the same thing when they go home to their younger siblings. So that is a big warning sign that your children might be getting bullied themselves. So something definitely to look out for. Next thing is, how are their friends? Do they have few or no friends? Do they hang out with anybody? Ask them who their friends are. If there's few or no friends, again, that might be a warning sign that your children are being bullied, and we want to take the appropriate steps to really see what is happening right there. Are your children afraid to go to school? Were they excited to go to school and all of a sudden they actually seem afraid to go to school? Again, this is another warning sign that your children might be getting bullied. Moving forward, this is more obviously for the older kids or the ones that have to take themselves to school. Do they take the long, illogical way to or from school, right? So are they taking a very long way home, or are they taking a very long way going to school? That, again, might be a warning sign that bullying might be happening even on the way, right? And that also goes with being afraid to go to school. Maybe they're purposely being late. Maybe they're purposely taking the long way, so they're avoiding somebody. So again, something to look for to see if bullying is actually happening there. Next one, guys, is, do your kids all of a sudden seem to have a loss of any interest of going to school? Any loss of interest means that they, again, might be getting bullied, and that's something to look into right there. So any loss of interest, anything that really shows, hey, they just don't have a desire to go, and they just kind of hold themselves a little bit different with that. Next one is, when they're going forward, do they all of a sudden seem sad, moody, or even depressed? Again, these are definitely warning signs that the children might be getting bullied, so something, again, to look out for right there. Next one, guys, is, do they all of a sudden complain about a headache, complain about a stomach ache, complain about any pains, about being sick? What they're doing is they're trying to actually not go to school, right? So, oh, I have a headache, I don't feel like going. If this is happening all the time, this, again, might be another warning sign, so something to look out for right there. Do they have trouble sleeping? Do they have nightmares? Do they seem to just, have a very rough night at nighttime? Again, more warning signs that are happening right there. Do they have any change of eating habits? Change of eating habits, that's another one. And, do they appear anxious? Do they appear to have any low self-esteem happening? So low self-esteem, the way they hold themselves, that is a huge indicator, the way they walk around. Okay, and one thing that I always try to tell the kids here, and please do this to with your kids as well, is impressions are very important. The way we hold ourselves is very important. So we always want to teach our kids when they're walking, we want the chin up, shoulders back, and really having a proper posture, because posture is the first thing that you ever notice about anybody. If a posture is very low, doesn't look good. If posture is nice and strong, shoulders back, chin up, looking strong, that is a good way to hold ourselves. And kids that have low self-esteem, they really don't like to hold themselves that way. They hold themselves very small and timid, and we want to try to break that. So what happens is, by breaking that, we tell them chin, shoulders back, and that's a really good way to kind of move forward. Last thing I want to talk about, guys, is when we're looking at any of the bullying, if you see anything on this list that's actually happening, we want to make sure you dive in, and I do have a video that's specifically geared towards things to do if your child is being bullied. Here's another one that we might not think of all the time. Nowadays, we have these things called cell phones, right? And let's be honest, a cell phone is not a cell phone like they used to be. A cell phone, remember, used to just be about calling somebody. If you need to get a hold of them, you can call them. Well, cell phones nowadays are literally computers that we hold in our pockets. There is constant exposure to the outside world. If you have your children and they have a cell phone, I would very much suggest looking into that cell phone daily. Have random check times where you actually will say, hey, let me see the phone, and you look at everything. Remember, the kids know the technology better than we do. Don't ever think you know it better than them, because that's not the case, okay? They do know the technology better than us. They can hide it, they can do whatever they want. So you have to randomly check the cell phone. And what I would also suggest is either A, hold out as long as you possibly can on giving your kids a cell phone. Again, if it's just a cell phone for calling, that's great. But that's not what we have nowadays. They're literally computers. There's videos, there's things that they are exposed to that they probably should never be exposed to at their young ages. So we want to make sure that we're always monitoring that, watching it. Never give the cell phones too early at a young age right there. And if they do have the cell phones, do random checks. Just say, hey, it's my cell phone, it's not your cell phone. Do a random check, look through it, look through the text messages, look through all these things right here. And also, I would also suggest not just letting them have the cell phone 24/7. I would suggest, maybe the cell phone has a locker or something that it goes into when they come home, and they have certain times they can go on it. Again, these are just to help different things. And of course, bullying nowadays is definitely something that happens online a lot, especially as we get with the older kids and that generation. You got to stay on top of it, and you really just want to see the best you can to keep away from that right there. So, really doing random checks with the cell phones, not giving your kids a cell phone too early. I think these are really things to help. Guys, I hope this video gave you some knowledge, gave you some help right there. I hope that none of these things are actually happening on there. And if they are, please do check out my other video. That's going to help you on the next steps to make. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in our next video. Take care, guys.